In today's video, we are going to be talking about 5 of the best foods you can eat for your heart. When it comes to heart health, there's a lot of contradicting information out there. One day, dietary cholesterol is bad for our heart, and the next day, it doesn't matter. And trust me, I know just how confusing and frustrating this contradicting information is. So in today's video, we are going to debunk some of these myths surrounding certain foods and heart health, and talk about 5 of the best foods you can eat to keep your heart healthy. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Kate. I'm a health coach and I post videos on a high-fat, nutrient-dense way of eating. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, feel free to share, and make sure to subscribe. And make sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, where I share new posts every single day. Today's video is sponsored by Adapted Nutrition. For electrolyte supplements specifically formulated for the keto diet and intermittent fasting, head to healthcoachkate.com/electrolytes and use code HCK10 to save 10% off your order. When we think of foods that are bad for our heart, we often think of foods that are high in saturated fat. This has been the narrative for decades. Too much saturated fat causes heart disease, they say. But the dietary fat we consume does not directly translate to fat in our blood, which is what is assumed. In fact, it is very common for someone who switches from the standard American diet to a high-fat, low-carb diet to actually see a decrease in the amount of fat circulating their bloodstream, which is known as triglycerides. But anyways, all of this is to say that some of the foods that have been demonized and we've been told are bad for our heart might actually not be, and some of them are actually beneficial. So now let's get into 5 of the best foods you can eat for heart health. Number 1, bone broth. Bone broth is made by simmering bones and meaty joints in water. The nutrients in the bones are extracted into the liquid, making bone broth extremely nutritious. Now, there are a few reasons why bone broth is beneficial for heart health. The first reason is that it is rich in minerals, such as magnesium, which are needed for our heart muscles to function properly. Low magnesium levels are a risk factor for cardiovascular disease, and a lot of people have low magnesium levels without even realizing it. The next reason that bone broth is beneficial for our heart is because it is very high in collagen. Collagen is a type of protein that makes up our skin, bones, and tissues. It also provides structure to our arteries. If your diet is lacking in collagen, your arteries can become weak and more susceptible to damage. And another reason why it is beneficial is because of the vitamin K2 content. If you use marrow bones when you are making bone broth, then the broth will be high in this fat-soluble vitamin. And it is well known that vitamin K2 is very important for heart health. Vitamin K2 prevents calcium from being deposited in our arteries. One study done over 10 years found that those who consumed the most vitamin K2 were over 50% less likely to develop artery calcification. If you have never made bone broth before, I highly recommend giving it a go. It's inexpensive, it's easy to make, and I do have another video where I walk you through how to make it and talk about some of the benefits, so I will link that above if you want to try it out. And if you've never had bone broth before and you aren't quite sure how to consume it, you can drink it as is, or you can use it in your cooking, either in soups, or one of my favorite ways to consume it is to take a tougher cut of meat, put it in the slow cooker with some bone broth, leave it all day, and yeah, it turns out absolutely delicious and it's also nutritious. Number 2, eggs. Now, I said at the start of this video that there are some foods that have been wrongly demonized as bad for our hearts, which are actually beneficial, and eggs are one of those foods. Some studies have even shown that egg consumption is associated with a decreased risk of heart disease in certain populations. One of the reasons that eggs are so beneficial for our hearts is because they are loaded with B vitamins. Several B vitamin deficiencies have been associated with heart disease. For example, vitamin B12. Vegetarians have a higher rate of vitamin B12 deficiency than omnivores, and supplementing vitamin B12 has been shown to reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease. Another example is vitamin B1 or thiamine, where a deficiency can directly cause heart failure. And aside from B vitamins, eggs are also a pretty good source of omega-3, which is anti-inflammatory and can help to lower blood pressure. Number 3, beef heart. Now, the first two foods that I mentioned are pretty common and pretty easy to incorporate into your diet. This one is a little bit more out there for some people. But I just want to say that beef heart is actually pretty similar in taste and texture to muscle meat, so don't get grossed out too quickly. Now, the main reason beef heart is beneficial for our own heart health is because of CoQ10, which is a compound that helps generate energy in your cells. Our bodies produce this enzyme naturally, but production of it slows as we get older. Supplementation of CoQ10 has been shown to improve symptoms of heart failure and also reduce blood pressure. And beef heart is one of the best sources of this nutrient. Number 4, avocados. Next up, we have everyone's favorite, avocados. Now, the main reason that avocados are so good for our hearts comes down to potassium. Potassium is an electrolyte that is important for your heart to beat properly. If you are not getting enough potassium in your diet, you may suffer from heart palpitations. Low potassium levels also increase your risk of having a heart attack. Now, it is important to note that too much potassium can also cause heart problems, but it is very unlikely that you are getting too much potassium from food alone. Ideally, you want to aim to get between 3,500 milligrams and 4,007 milligrams of potassium a day. And to put that into perspective, half an avocado has about 500 milligrams. Now, before we move into the final food that is good for our hearts, I wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about today's sponsor, Adapted Nutrition. Adapted Nutrition makes electrolyte supplements that are specifically made for people who eat a low-carb diet. And I wanted to mention their Keto K1000 powder specifically today because of its high potassium content. As we just spoke about, potassium is important for our heart health. So if you take a look at your diet and realize that you are not getting enough potassium, adding Adapted Nutrition's Keto K1000 powder into your routine is a good way to boost your intake. Adapted Nutrition is committed to providing simple science-based hydration products from natural sea minerals. A lot of electrolyte supplements on the market do not even contain a significant amount of electrolytes and are filled with sugar, fillers, and artificial ingredients, all of which are unnecessary and sometimes harmful. If you want to check out Adapted Nutrition, you can head to healthcoachkate.com/electrolytes and use code HCK10 to save 10% off your order. Thank you again to Adapted Nutrition for sponsoring this video. Number 5, ghee. And finally, we have ghee. Now, if you are not familiar with what ghee is, basically it is just butter that has been clarified. And what this means is that all of the lactose and casein, which is usually the parts of dairy that people are sensitive to, is removed. Ghee is great to use for cooking because it is very stable, so it can withstand high heats. One study done on a rural population in India, where ghee is traditionally used, found lower rates of heart disease in those who consumed the most ghee. One of the reasons ghee is so good for our hearts is the high amount of vitamin K2 it contains, which we already spoke about. And it also contains a good amount of omega-3s as well. And those are the 5 best foods you can eat for heart health. So to summarize, number 1, bone broth, number 2, eggs, number 3, beef heart, number 4, avocado, and number 5, ghee. Let me know in the comment section down below how many of these foods you consume on a regular basis. And if you guys did enjoy this video, remember to give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below answering that question. You can also click that subscribe button for 2 videos a week. And thank you again to Adapted Nutrition for sponsoring this video. If you guys want to check out that electrolyte supplement that I mentioned, I will link it in the description box down below along with my promo code. And if you did enjoy this video, you might also like my video on understanding cholesterol and why you shouldn't just look at LDL alone. You can find it here. If you want to catch up on my most recent upload, you can find it here. And if you want to check out my keto diet and carnivore diet coaching programs, you can find them here. Thanks guys, I'll see you next time. Bye.